I'm Katie Short, and I have been in the ceramics department for the past 2 years. I decided to first go to art school in undergrad because I didn't love anything else as much as that, and I knew I wanted to spend my life doing that. And I knew I wanted to go to grad school because I wanted to teach as well. So that was kind of the beginning of things. As I progressed through undergrad, I realized I was actually a sculptor rather than a painter, and that led me, after undergrad, to coming here. I really want to interact with the materials, and it's important to me not to create illusion, but to show something that is really happening with these objects. In the case of the glass pieces, I subject them to heat. I put them in ceramics kilns, and it's actually, I'm exercising control over them, but also letting them just behave the way they do when I expose them to that. I choose objects more based on my personal history with those objects, whether it be bits of hair or toys from my childhood. My studio is always really messy, and I would make things, but there's so much stuff around, it could get broken, and it became this thing where it's like a lack of regard for objects in a way. And so, when I began working with glass, it was that much more treacherous. And I guess that's kind of how I began to regard these objects that I would bring into my studio as just possibilities for things that could break or be broken. And that's when I began actively destroying objects, and it wasn't until I destroyed them and made them into something new that all of a sudden then they were precious. I approach the making process very intuitively, and it's kind of an oscillation back and forth between this is my desire to make something and this is what it means. And that's the contemporary crafts conversation, intellectualizing it after maybe the initial drive to make something. It's not the same conversation where is craft art. It's more like, what does making do for us? And I think that making allows us to think in a different way. It allows us to find these metaphors in our processes that we didn't know existed, and it allows us to talk about the world around us through the actions that we carry out in our own practices. I guess realistically, when I talk about feeling like I made art when I was a child, there's kind of this joke, I think, among a lot of my friends that the art that we make now is actually very similar to what we did as children. I mean, for myself, when I was 5 and 6, I would collect things and store them in bottles as kind of display places, and now I'm, displaying things trapped in glass. So it's just the same thing mutated in a different way.